Well, they've been doing it for decades. I mean, we've saw the welfare queens. They've seen the Southern strategy. We've seen it over and over. It's an old playbook, and we're as dumb as we want to be that we allow them to do this with CRT and ESG and DEI and every three-letter word.
Shut up, faggot.
Yeah, demonize and they weaponize grievance. They other people. They talk down to people, past people. They humiliate people. They weaponize difficult issues. We cannot continue to be on the defense reacting to this. We've got to go on the offense.
Ooh, don't do it. Please don't do it.
I think I could kick most of their ass. I do think that if they want to do it. I know I can outrun them.
I doubt it.
I've become friends with school shooters.
Fuck around and find out.
In this world, there's two kinds of people, my friend. Those with loaded guns and those who dig. Broadcasting from a Montana wilderness fortress at the headwaters of the Missouri, this is Matt Christiansen Live.
Hello and welcome to the show. This is Matt Christiansen Live for Wednesday, March 19th, 2025. Thank you for tuning in. Sitting shotgun tonight is my friend Mark Aaron. Mark, thanks for being here.
It's my pleasure, Matt. Thanks for having me.
More about Mark in a moment. For discussion tonight, the federal judges are at it again. Another one blocks Trump's pending transgender ban in the military. Turns out they found a constitutional right to transgenderism in the Navy SEALs. Everyone is entitled to that. That's what the Founding Fathers intended. Got to look deep in the penumbras to find it, but it's in there. The JFK files, not RFK files, as we were talking about before live. I'm going to say RFK files probably 50 times.
They're related.
There's too many RFKs or too many FKs. I mean, I can't handle how many F Kennedys there are, so I confuse them all the time. But this actually is a massive pile of documents, unlike the Epstein files debacle. Chuck Schumer demands your money and mocks you if you'd rather not give it to him. Tim Walz, as you heard there, is a very masculine man who will kick your ass if you disagree with him. And of course, you're a bad guy if you do. And Don Lemon says that he was sexually harassed at CNN for years. All the ladies, they just could not keep their hands off of Don Lemon. You can decide if you agree or if you buy that. We'll take calls, emails, and super chats before we're out of here. If you'd like to call the show, of course, you can do that through the Discord server linked in the description. Help and instructions are available on the server. We got to say hi to our friendly listener-owned business for the evening as well. And that's our friends over at Western Razor Company. We know we're being lied to on a daily basis by our government, by corporate media, and by razor companies too. Think about it. Their ads used to appeal to your masculinity, just like Tim Walz. Then they took advantage of your sensitivity with aloe strips. They kept adding blades, thinking you wouldn't notice how clogged they get, and the more they changed, the more plastic and disposable they became. The honest truth is those other razor brands are lying to your face, and our friends at Western Razor aren't going to take it anymore. That's why their safety razors are 100% metal, made in the USA and made with integrity. The replacement blades are inexpensive too. So you get a great shave and you save money because when you buy Western Razor once, it lasts forever. Listeners get 10% off any order when they use code MATT10 at checkout. Don't let those other razor brands lie to your face. Go to westernrazor.com and order yours today. Western Razor, the last razor you will ever need. You can find everything you need from our friends at Western Razor, plus other great offers from the rest of our friendly listener-owned businesses, including Hero Soap Company, Phoenix Ammunition, Hope Innovations, and more. MattChristiansenMedia.com/deals. Deals by listeners for listeners. And don't forget, our friends over at Hero Soap Company also have another new scent for your sampling. Spearmint is a crisp, refreshing, minty soap with a subtle cooling effect that'll leave you feeling clean all day. Don't settle for just fresh breath with some gum. Get full body fresh with Spearmint from Hero Soap Company. All natural and high quality as always. 10% off everything from our friends at Hero Soap Company when you use promo code MCListener. HeroSoapCompany.com. Promo code MCListener. Last thing, don't forget there are a lot of new offerings up in the merch store. T-shirts, mugs, all that stuff. When you buy show merch, Not only are you supporting the show, you're supporting the designers who made the graphics as well, all of whom are listeners of this stream as well. Last announcement, now you may have noticed on Sunday that there were Superchat notifications going off on screen during the stream. And that was intentional. I just didn't announce it because frankly, I wasn't sure if it was going to work. So I didn't want to announce it and then have people expect their Superchat to appear and then it doesn't appear. This one does work as far as I gather, but only for YouTube. I'd like to get Rumble and other Super Chat places to show on screen like that. But for now, that's not an option. Of course, we will still read your Super Chats, regardless of where you send them. But for now, a nice little bonus for YouTube Super Chatters, even though, Raju Mahan steals a third of those. But his house, his rules, I guess.
Send them anyways.
Yeah, thank you however you choose to support the show. It's much appreciated. But my friend Mark Aaron here is the former co-host of the 2-Bit podcast. He now hosts At Liberty with Mark Aaron. You can find him on YouTube and elsewhere. He calls himself a valiant defender of the 51st state. So all you dirty Canucks out there who demand that I get a more well-rounded Canadian perspective, here you go. He's even in the French part of Canada, so that's like double legit, I think.
It's just sweet.
Find him on X at Liberty M Aaron, linked in the description. Mark, thanks for helping out with the show, and give us a sense of your background, or what's the deal with Mark Aaron?
No, that's a bit of a long tale, but Canadian. Canadian from the prairies, next to Alberta, so Westerner in my blood, some American in my heritage. So very, very. I have no problem with Americans. For some reason, I think they're real people.
For some reason,
yeah, it's just
God. We got that bad of a reputation now.
Unlike,
all right.
Well, you have to understand that the majority of Canadians build their entire ego around thinking that we're better than you for some reason because we're gayer and we like taxes, and so
it is a weird thing that like hating America has become Canada's national identity now. Yeah. It seems. I know not all of you. Please, angry Canadians, don't send me your emails. But one thing I hear too is like, oh man, Trump and Americans have to watch it because if you don't, then the Canadians are going to vote for the Liberal Party again. It's like, if you guys vote for these insane people because you hate America that much, that's on you. I'm sorry. Like, we're not responsible for how you vote in your country.
Well, don't get me started. But the problem with Canada is we have like 6 Liberal parties.
Yeah.
And no right-wing parties. Our conservatives were literally the progressive conservatives. That's how right-wing they were. So yeah, we're kind of stuck between a soft place and a softer place, and there's no options. So I'm all for annexation. We're already American. Like, we live on this continent. We just haven't joined the Union yet. It's coming.
So you are unironically Team 51st State. Is that?
Oh, absolutely, 100%. It doesn't threaten my identity at all. I love Americans, and I would love to and be glad to join you.
Well, maybe we'll get into
that. Nothing like inalienable rights.
Well, you're going to have to give up your awesome free healthcare and all the rest of the stuff.
Yeah, how would we survive?
Turns out that one is alienable, bitch. We're taking it back. All right. Yeah. No more healthcare for you. Anyway,
it's a very expensive privilege.
Yeah, I guess so. Speaking of your constitutional rights, though, I didn't know that being transgender and serving in the military was a constitutional right, or at least something of that variety, according to a federal judge. But the courts are at it again. They're blocking deportations, as we'll get to in a minute, or trying to. And now yesterday, another federal judge in D.C. has blocked enforcement of Trump's executive order banning transgender people from the military. So this is D.C. District Court Judge Anna Reyes, a Biden-nominated judge.
Surprising.
And she ruled that excluding transgender people from the military, this isn't really a ruling, I guess. It's an injunction. This is a pause on the policy. But she says that excluding transgender people from military service likely violates their constitutional rights. And this is going to be appealed. It's already being appealed, is my understanding. The lawsuit was brought by a second lieutenant in the Army Reserves, plus 14 other transgender people who are currently in the military. So the great Troon house cleaning was supposed to happen next week, pursuant to this executive order. Now it's on pause. But on January 27th, sorry, do you have a thought?
Yeah, just because I've heard of, there's a few of these. This isn't the only where a judge just steps up and says, "No, I'm in charge." And I don't know enough about any country's politics to understand like what's the jurisdiction? How do they?
This one is particularly interesting because constitutionally, the president is the commander-in-chief of the military. So we have a lot of constitutional angles here. But yeah, I mean, that's exactly the controversy that's going on. There is interpretation of the law, the role of the courts, that is to say, they, by their own declaration from the Supreme Court, a long, long time ago at the founding of the country, they say what the law is. But there is a difference between interpreting the law, defining the law in that way, and just stopping the other branches of government from their constitutional function. And we're watching a lot of the latter right now. Not only are they making those interpretations, but they're putting preliminary stoppages on the policy while they make that evaluation. So some people need to be reminded of the limitations of their power, it seems.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's and just making shit up is another level. And if there's no grounds for their interpretation of the law, where does that go then? Does it have to go to the Supreme Court? Like
that's why I said you got to look in the penumbras, man. That was
the penumbras. Yeah, yes. Yeah. Okay.
When you
I do know the definition of that word.
When you don't see something explicitly in the Constitution, you got to squint, and it's like one of those 3D. What do you call those things? I never know the names of them. Where you got to squint at it just right. Yeah. It's the 3D image. That's what you have to do with the Constitution. And you see in the penumbras, and there it says you have a right to be a trainee in the Navy SEALs if you look closely enough.
You just have to divine it.
So the on January 27th, the executive order was. Trump said that transgenderism conflicts with a soldier's commitment to an honorable, truthful, and disciplined lifestyle and is therefore harmful to military readiness. And in response to that order, Defense Secretary Hegseth issued a policy that presumptively disqualifies people with gender dysphoria from military service. So that was the policy that was going to go into place next week. Now, what is the constitutional issue? This is what you're getting at. Mm-hmm. Now, the plaintiffs say that their pending military separation, so these are people who are in the military right now, that their rights to equal protection under the law, under the Fifth Amendment, are being violated by this. So under the Fifth Amendment, and then as extended to the states through the 14th, everybody has the right to equal protection of the law. We can't say, like, we're not going to police... let's say that there was a crime against a black-owned business or something. They're entitled to the same protection of the law that a white person's business would be, for example. This is something different, though. I mean, this is not protection of the law because you don't have a right to serve in the military in the first place. Right. The military, of course, discriminates in many different ways, and it kind of has to. There have to be fitness standards. They have to be ready for combat. They need a certain level of lethality.
Yeah, even you can't have a vision below a certain standard. I mean,
right.
As far as I know, there can be an obligation to serve in the military, and I have thoughts about that when we get into if we're going to discuss the Tesla terrorists. But it's an obligation and a privilege. Where is it instantiated that you have the right to force yourself into service?
Yeah,
how can you rely on that?
I'm not aware of a constitutional right to serve in the military and some sort of equal protection standard that makes sure that you can't be denied service based on gender identity or something like that.
Yeah, but then I think we're getting into the same problem that you have with every leftist is the concept of what a right is and their inability to wrap their mind around.
But there are many other contexts in which this fits. If you are ill, if you are disabled, if you are otherwise unfit for the tasks of the military, sorry, you can't be in the military. I get it. You want to be in. That's great. That's honorable that you want to serve the country. All of that is fine. It doesn't mean that everybody who wants to do that gets to do that. There are a certain set of criteria that determine who gets to do that and who doesn't. Now, the White House lawyers are arguing this case, and they're going to the basic point that we're talking about. The Defense Department has a history of disqualifying people for military service if they have physical or emotional impairments, including mental health conditions. Some might say transgenderism qualifies. And that's been the status for the country's entire history. But this Judge Reyes just discovered its unconstitutionality. But speaking of the constitutional issue, and this is where it gets extra funny, because it's not just that a right to serve in the military doesn't exist. It's that the president's role as commander-in-chief clearly does. So not only do you have a judge going beyond her role, she's stepping into the explicit constitutional role of the president as commander-in-chief, and she's aware of that. She says in her decision to put a stop to this policy, at least for the moment, that judicial overreach is no less pernicious than executive overreach. Then why are you doing it? Because the executive, even if there's a dispute here, the executive must have a presumption of legitimacy in issues of commanding the military. A federal judge in D.C. does not get that presumption. And she's saying, he reached, I'll reach, it's all the same. I thought two wrongs don't make a right. Now it's two wrongs definitely make it better.
And how is the executive doing his job overreach?
Exactly. Like it is.
Where's the overreach? I'm sorry, I don't see it. Whereas you as a judge being like, I have as much standing as the president in military matters.
Yeah.
I could qualify.
Exactly. The whole thing is just constitutionally illiterate, but even in its base logic, it's just dumb. Two wrongs don't make a right is standard moral philosophy. Here she is. Well, he did it the wrong way, and if I do it the wrong way, that's the same thing, so I guess I better do it the wrong way too. That's what she's saying in that statement. This judge is going to lose. At least I think it's highly likely. Now, Trump already implemented this policy. You may have remembered this, or you may remember this battle from his first term. Trump actually had this policy in his first term, and it too got battled through the courts. And the Supreme Court allowed the policy to stand. Then Joe Biden came in and reversed it. And by the way, as I mentioned, it's been the policy for the country's entire history. This is not new. This is a policy that the Supreme Court allowed just a few years ago. It's going to be the policy again as soon as this judge loses on appeal. So that's where we stand with this.
Maybe that's my misunderstanding. So this is going to the Supreme Court. Because in Canada, we have a system that's based on jurisprudence, whereas in America, everything is based on the Constitution. So if there's a dispute between a judge and the president, it has to go to the Supreme Court, and then
first it's going to go to an appeals court, and it's possible that, say, the appeals court says this is nonsense, he's the commander in chief, we're done here, and the Supreme Court, and then maybe the people bringing this lawsuit, the trannies in the military now, want to try to appeal to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court could say no, and whatever was decided at the appellate level could stand. Mm. So not necessarily will it go there, but I would be shocked if a stoppage of this policy on equal protection grounds stands and the Supreme Court allows that to stand. I think that would be a surprising outcome.
How's Amy Coney Barrett feeling about the? She seems to be the
she's getting a lot of heat lately. I have not followed exactly what were people mad at her about the other week. She allowed one of these judges' rulings to stand. I forget exactly what it was.
It was the last thing, but she seems to go kind of with the wind. And I saw something the other day that was like, you can always depend on the liberal judges to go liberal and then the conservative judges to go whichever way. And
well, some might say that women are more agreeable and more prone to, I don't know. It depends on if you read into that. Anyway, speaking of idiot judges, the other one in DC who tried to over the weekend, he tried to make these planes heading to Honduras, taking Tren de Aragua or alleged Tren de Aragua Venezuelan gang members out of the country, not to Honduras, El Salvador is where they were going and where they did go. Some were going to Honduras, though, I gather. Anyway, he wanted the planes to turn around. This is DC District Court Judge James Boasberg, and since his order on Saturday night, the case has developed a little bit more early this week. Now, remember, the legal dispute in this case is Trump invoking a 1798 law. It's called the Alien Enemies Act, which allows for immediate deportation during either declared wartime or during a presidentially declared time of invasion. So Trump has declared Tren de Aragua to be invaders, and he's deporting them immediately without hearings. He did that to several hundred of them over the weekend, or that was the policy until this judge stepped in. And on Monday, the judge ripped the Trump administration for defying him, and he said, I I guess your position is we don't care. We'll do whatever we want.
Bingo.
Sounds like that would be the response to this particular judge. DOJ lawyers said they didn't ignore the judge. They said that once he put his order in writing, they complied. So the controversy here was, first you just said it, turn those planes around. Then he wrote it down. And they said, once you wrote it down, then we listened.
Oh, and they did turn the planes around? I didn't hear that.
No, they didn't. They actually got to El Salvador, and then there was a big video put out by the El Salvadorian president of him shaving their heads and processing them into prison. And when they say they listened, I think they mean they stopped sending the planes to Central America. They weren't sending new planes. Yeah.
Okay.
So the Justice Department, the judge actually responded to the Justice Department on Monday saying, you need to answer all my questions, as in how many of these illegal aliens were on these flights. I think was his primary question. There were some others. DOJ refused to answer his question for national security reasons. The judge then ordered the DOJ to answer his questions in a filing by noon yesterday. The DOJ refused. And so he said, okay, I'll give you 24 more hours until noon today, Wednesday. DOJ lawyers came back and said, we need an extension on the time. He said, okay. So now it's noon tomorrow is the deadline for the DOJ to be responding to this guy and telling him everything he needs to know about these Tren de Aragua members. But they're trying to postpone here, the DOJ is saying, because, listen, you're asking us to submit national security sensitive information, and we're not going to do that. The judge is saying, well, submit it to me in a sealed filing, and we'll protect sensitive information that way is the idea. So this is still being battled, and it's just being delayed throughout the week. But as of now, no more flights to El Salvador or Honduras, at least on an expedited fashion, without a hearing for these illegal immigrants. Another hearing Friday.
It's so frustrating. Your system is so, I mean, ours is no better, but if they're not American, they're there illegally. Get them out. I don't understand. Like it's just.
Well, the point is they're supposed to be entitled to a hearing to determine their legal status or not.
No hearings. That's
that's what's being adjudicated
because it's Bukele, right, in El Salvador.
He's the one taking him in. Yeah.
Listen, there's the liberal complaints that there's the rule of law and people deserve a trial, and you can't just round them up because they have tattoos on them. And there's validity to that argument. Mm-hmm. But when you're in the situation, like, I want to know what was the status that the DOJ was relying on before rounding these guys up and shipping them off? Was it face tattoos, or was there that they'd committed a crime, or that they were just someone claimed that they're here illegally? Like, what was the bar?
Yeah, I don't know. And there is a credible argument on the other side of that. I can get to that in a moment too, because I want to talk about it with some of the arguments presented to Tom Homan. But yeah, there were some Tren de Aragua members arrested and deported here in town where I live in Bozeman, Montana.
Oh yeah.
And they asked the sheriff here, who cooperated with federal authorities to do it, how did you even identify these guys as Tren de Aragua? And his response, without going into too much detail into their methods, was, these guys like to brag. So if you have someone who becomes buddy-buddy with them, they will kind of voluntarily tell you, yo, homie, I'm part of the gang, and listen to all the gang stuff that I did. That's what he implied. Like self-identification.
Yeah, interesting. But that's now, I mean, you're kind of relying on hearsay at that point, which is not a fantastic legal standard.
Well,
at least with my experience with police, trusting them with that amount of power is a little bit intimidating, even though, it's a bit of a tough one trying to decide which side of the fence you fall on this, because I don't want them there, but at the same time, if you're just rounding up random people,
they're not random.
Do they have a passport, right? Like,
I think it's a fair policy. To your point, if you come here and brag about being part of a foreign gang, then
go back to where you come from. Okay,
fair enough.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Anyway, there is a counter. There is a counter, and I do want to get into that in just a moment. But first, I want to talk John Roberts. Speaking of suspect members of the Supreme Court, John Roberts is speaking out publicly, which is a rare move. So there are calls to impeach this Judge Boasberg. and some of these other obstructionist judges who appear to be exceeding their authority. But Supreme Court Chief Justice John Roberts, he put out this statement, was it yesterday or early this week? But he said implicitly, he didn't call out Trump or anybody specifically, but he said implicitly about Trump and the calls to impeach this judge. For more than 2 centuries, it has been established that impeachment is not an appropriate response to disagreement concerning a judicial decision, rather. The normal appellate review process exists for that purpose. So John Roberts is making the argument that behavior or reasoning in a decision as a judge, that is not constitutional grounds for impeachment. That only conduct is. Like if you're a federal judge and you go out and commit a bunch of crimes, then that's impeachable. But if you just say some idiot stuff on the bench and do idiot stuff from the bench, that's not impeachable. The problem for John Roberts is that's nonsense, according to the founding era, the founders themselves or men of the founding era. In 1804, actually, the House impeached Supreme Court Justice Samuel Chase. And they did it specifically because of his partisan bias. The reasoning for bringing these charges in impeachment, at least in the House, was that Chase, quote, behaved in an arbitrary, oppressive, and unjust way by announcing his legal interpretation on the law of treason and before defense counsel had been heard, and continually promoting his political agenda on the bench, thereby tending to prostitute the high judicial character with which he was invested to the low purpose of an electioneering partisan. That sounds like an elevated way of describing what's going on now. It's so people used to write in these amazing poetic terms, and now we have
the language.
Now we have Jasmine Crockett, the rest of them, John Fetterman too.
Yeah, no. If we could just get someone that eloquent, the winning would never stop.
Chase was acquitted in the Senate, and so he was not removed from the Supreme Court. But the point stands. The people of the founding era clearly thought that political bias was an acceptable basis for impeachment because they did it. So John Roberts, getting a little bit political himself there, and I think he's just historically wrong in what he's saying, too. But one of the odd arguments that's raised by opponents of these deportations, and again, there are, I think, valid concerns that we'll get into, but it's not necessarily the boundaries of the law invoked. It's the age of the law. It's a 1798 law, after all. Who the hell even knows what those are? As though there's an expiration date on it or something. There's not in this case.
Right.
But a reporter asked Tom Homan, Trump's border czar, hey, are you using a 200-year-old law to circumvent due process? And Tom Homan had an excellent response.
You say to those who claim you're using a 200-year-old law to
they say 2,000, 200, whatever I said.
You said 200.
Not as old as the Constitution. We still pay attention to that, don't we?
It's the one and only Digo Double G.
All right, so well-earned thug life recognition for Tom Homan. But you can make a lot of arguments about this law. Now, you can say that, let's look at the text of the law here. Text of the law requires either a declaration of war, that comes from Congress, that didn't happen here, or the president has to declare an invasion by a foreign government or nation. Now, is Tren de Aragua a foreign government or nation? That's a little bit dicey legally, and that's what some of this court challenge is going to focus on. And I think you can...
doesn't it, if I heard correctly, it says the president has to declare that it's a foreign government.
Which
so
he has.
Doesn't need to be. He has. He said.
He has to declare it's an invasion by a foreign government. But yeah, your point would be, does he get to define what a foreign government is, I guess?
No, I'm saying that according to this, maybe he does get to define it, but he must declare that it's a foreign government. So does Tren de Aragua,
or nation,
however you say it, or nation, do they constitute a government or nation,
Correct.
Or are they just a gang, right?
Correct. Yeah, that's what the courts will be evaluating. And I think that is a very valid argument. I don't think that that's unreasonable at all. You want to talk, it's 1798 law. No, go after the technicals like this. Mm-hmm. And then I do think you could also say that the law itself is plausibly unconstitutional. Again, I'm not saying I agree with this argument, but this is the argument. It's unconstitutional because it attempts by statute to undo Fifth Amendment due process guarantees. You can't do that. A statute does not override constitutional guarantees. You can make that argument, age of the law is not an argument. This law has no expiration.
No, you'd think the older a law is, probably the better.
If the law's from the year
as
one,
long as it's not
and it
something
says don't kill people,
right,
in cold blood.
There's 10 of those that stood up pretty well. And I think we don't just discard them because of the current era. Well, why doesn't Trump just declare that this is an invasion by a foreign government? You could say by implication, their government is not stopping them from coming here. Therefore, it's purposeful. It's an invasion by a foreign government. Then it fits this statute. And get rid of them.
Did you see the closing time controversy?
No. I didn't.
Okay, so the White House put out a video that further enraged the Tren de Aragua apologists. And it's a video showing some of these arrests and deportations, but it's got the song Closing Time by Semisonic as background music.
They got butthurt about that. They were like, hey, our one hit.
That's ours, man.
You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. I know who I want to take me home.
And it is theirs, to be fair. You can make fun of a one-hit wonder, but one-hit wonder is better than zero-hit wonder, so I'll give them that.
It's true. But how many people even remember? I think I was in high school when that came out.
I actually do love
really
that song.
reaching.
I think that's a great song.
Forget it.
But the song reached number 4 on the Billboard Billboard Alternative Chart back in 1998. And it got a Grammy nomination for Best Rock Song.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. Didn't win, but it got a nomination. So Semisonic, as you mentioned, they released a statement saying that the use of the song in this way misconstrues the meaning of the song. Here's their statement. We did not authorize or condone the White House's use of our song in any way, and no, they didn't ask. The song is about joy and possibilities and hope, and they have missed the point entirely. Well, okay, as a legal matter, they used 16 or 17 seconds of the song. It's fair use. Chill out. You don't have to ask permission. They didn't post the whole song, whatever.
Does that fall within fair use? 16 seconds?
Yeah. Well, I go by the rules of YouTube. And if it's fine for YouTube, that means legally fine to me. And I just played it. So suck it, Semisonic. File a takedown notice.
And I got a lot of hope and joy from it. So
well, that's the thing.
Their argument doesn't even stand.
It's like, first of all, I don't necessarily agree that the song is about hope and joy. Listen to the song. It's about like trying to find opportunity at closing time of the bar and looking for. That's a terrible place to look for opportunity. You're headed straight for depression, man. Bad idea. So I don't agree that it's a joyful, optimistic. If it is, it's misplaced joy and optimism. But to your point, why is anyone wrong in feeling joy and optimism watching foreign gang members get removed from our country? That's joyful and optimistic. That's great.
Yeah, way better than settling for a 2 at 2.
Well, just like it's better to have a one-hit wonder than a no-hit wonder, a 2 is better than a 1. So at least you got something. Anyway, okay, so congratulations, Semisonic, on your second 15 minutes of fame. You've done it. Last night was the night for the JFK files, not RFK, JFK. Tens of thousands of these files were released all about or related to the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. Wait, what? Why does it say No, it's not JFK.
Does it say?
Maybe my notes are wrong. No, it's not JFK Jr. He died in a plane crash, right? JFK.
Hey, now. Hey. He's still alive and he's going to Trump's rallies. Settle down.
Is that true? I haven't heard that one.
You didn't read the. This was one of the big Q.
I guess you'll have to inform me on that, but I think I just mixed up RFK again because RFK is actually RFK Jr. and JFK. There is a JFK Jr., but the JFK got assassinated. All right.
Yeah, RFK Sr. gone, JFK Jr. and Sr. gone. We've only got one left.
Yeah. Now, of course, I've not read all these files in full. I'm also not really JFK assassination guy, like as an area of interest. Not that I'm saying it's not worth understanding. I just haven't spent a lot of time on it. Are you big into JFK assassination stuff?
Like when I was 12 and figured out the CIA did it.
Oh.
Yeah, like I don't know. To me, it's really boring. I'm expecting that there's going to be a smoking gun in documents that are around 70 years later seems crazy to me. And I don't know why anyone's excited about this, especially. And you're just going to me, this looks like one of what Trump likes to call massive dumps. And it's just, yeah, what do you think you're going to...
Well, I will say, okay, before we even get into the content, because again, like, it's hard for me to judge what content is worthwhile in here without a solid basis of understanding for all the stuff about the JFK assassination theories prior. But as far as the release, I got to say, solid improvement over the Epstein Files disaster, though. There was way less hype, and at least in volume, again, we'll see how valuable the material is, but at least in volume, way more content. So that's good. This is a step in the right direction in terms of these document releases, I would say. But yeah, as far as the content, and I've seen what people are posting about. I haven't seen some smoking gun. If you think the CIA did it, you probably still think the CIA did it. If you think Mossad did it, you probably still think Mossad did it. If you think they did it together, you probably still think that. And if you believe Lee Harvey Oswald did it himself and acted alone, you probably still think that. Yeah. So I haven't seen anybody whose mind was changed. Let's put it that way.
No, I think people are heading towards the Lee Harvey Oswald did it in conjunction with the CIA and Mossad and the mob.
There's a lot of talk of Russian involvement too. Now, it shows how much I knew about all of this. I didn't know that Lee Harvey Oswald defected to Russia, and then he had like this KGB handler and
Cuba. I'd heard of Cuba before, and he was a I don't know, somehow connected communist revolutionary type in with the whole thing's a giant shit show mess. And I think that's intentional to some degree. And that's how they like to, it's going to be mud, and it's never not going to be mud. And good luck.
Do you know a content? Now, I thought this point was funny, is that Oswald, when he went to the USSR, so he went to Russia and he tried to become a Russian citizen or Soviet citizen. And he was in the Marine Corps for a little bit in the 50s. But somehow he went to, and I don't know the context in which his marksmanship would be tested in Russia, but he was found to be a poor shot when he was in the USSR. So I guess he really improved his marksmanship in the next decade. It was just kind of an interesting note in there. Now, do you know the context in which he did he try to join the Russian military or something?
I'd never heard of a Russian connection with him.
Yeah, he went to Russia.
I heard of Cuba.
Yeah.
But Russia was very close. I mean, because there's different theories. I remember my grandfather telling me when I was like 8, he was like, no, it was the steel companies. I was like, okay, I don't know where that comes from, but there was, it was mixed with a lot of different interests at the time. And that's the problem, is that JFK made enemies kind of everywhere, and Lee Harvey Oswald was involved in a bunch of stuff. And so it might have been multiple people working with him, but I'd never heard of the Russia stuff. And the Russians were working with the Cubans at the time, and JFK was involved in that, and so was Oswald. So
Well, here are some other notes for your consideration. Oswald is known to have been under CIA surveillance for at least 59 days prior to the assassination. There's this journalist and also a CIA informant named Gary Underhill, who told friends he believed the CIA was responsible for assassinating Kennedy after it happened. 6 months later, Underhill was found shot to death in his apartment in what was ruled a suicide. So Arkansas goes a long way back, it seems.
Yeah, how old was Hillary?
She was. What year was she born?
Was it with a 22?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what. She was born in 1907. She would have been definitely old enough,
right?
Yeah.
Okay, I figured that out.
Okay,
we solved it.
Yeah, we solved that one. Now this is what I was getting at: is Lee Harvey Oswald had this. Where is it? This KGB handler. Yeah, Lee Harvey Oswald was allegedly under the direction of KGB officer Kostakov and reportedly linked to Department 5. Now, Department 5, I guess, was like the Soviet assassination operation department. So he's got some kind of Soviet assassin guy who's handling him while he's in Russia or prior to the assassination. All these Russian connections I wasn't really aware of. So I guess maybe there's some Russian angle. J. Edgar Hoover was asked after the fact if Oswald was an FBI agent, and Hoover said Oswald at no time was an FBI agent, employee, or informant. So that's proof positive to me that he was in fact a Fed, because FBI denial of FBI involvement is about as solid proof as you can ask for, I think.
Yeah, pretty much.
Did you see that in, speaking of JFK Jr., in 1994, JFK Jr. called Joe Biden a traitor to the country.
Come on, man.
And only 5 years later, JFK Jr. was killed. He died in the plane crash. So, coincidence?
How old was Biden?
Very old. He was actually 105 back then.
He's already 90. Yeah. Who wasn't involved in this? Now, this is
I don't think there's any Joe Biden angle. It's just like, hey, in 1994, JFK Jr. called him a piece of shit. Oh, well, that's interesting.
Yeah, no, not actually assuming Biden had anything to do with it.
Yeah.
It seems like the more we find out about JFK, the murkier it gets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's also, there's a lot of documentation to your point about the CIA. Where is it? It's way at the bottom here. So there's this 15-page report from Kennedy advisor Arthur Schlesinger that on the topic of JFK's consideration and plans to dismantle the CIA's independent authority. And there's this 15-page report in these files. It's calling the CIA a rogue state within a state. So the theory there would be threatening CIA power earned him an exercise of CIA power would be the idea. But hey, this is great. More information in the public is always appreciated, but I still, I'm thinking tick-tock on that truckload of Epstein documents, Pam Bondi. We're all waiting for those.
And do you, how faithful are you in the authenticity of this stuff, that it hasn't been siphoned through, or that it's not just a distraction? Like, how much faith do you have in the Trump administration that they are on the up and up and we're getting what we're supposed to be getting? Or is this just like, here's everything with his name on it? And
well, are you saying you think some of it is fabricated, or are you thinking it's like it's incomplete?
Yeah, I mean, this could just be, go in the offices, grab everything that has anything with anything, and if there is a smoking gun, like I said, I'm sure it disappeared 60 years ago, and it's not sitting around in boxes with the other files.
You know where it is? It's in the truckload of Epstein documents that just arrived at Pam Bondi's doorstep.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that we're gonna get next week. That's gonna have all
just
the names. Yeah, of course. Okay, it's coming. We're gonna get. They're gonna tell us.
Well, yesterday, Chuck Schumer appeared on The View to talk about his strategy last week of first saying he was going to push for a government shutdown instead of signing on to the Republican continuing resolution on spending. And then about 5 seconds later, he caved. And he signed on, and he passed it through the Senate, and then Democrats got very mad at him for supposedly enabling Trump. And Schumer's argument became something like, well, if the government shut down, that's only going to strengthen Trump and Musk because they would still be in operation doing all their Doge slashing. And many of these offices are going to close down. They're going to have a harder time resisting Doge and Musk and Trump. And so it's just going to enable Trump and Musk to be even more damaging, is the Schumer argument. But in explaining his reasoning on The View, Chuck Schumer had something of an Obama, you didn't build that moment. Now, remember back in 2012, Obama was campaigning for his second term, and he was talking about taxes and businesses, and he said, if you've got a business, you didn't build that. Now, in context, he was talking about roads and bridges, and he was saying, even if you've built a successful business, you didn't build the roads and the bridges that you rely on that have helped you. But of course, was still a terrible campaign soundbite. And of course, even taken in context, there's still plenty to dispute about the quote. And I thought maybe Chuck Schumer was having a similar moment. Like, yeah, this sounds bad, but maybe in context it makes a little more sense. Like the clip I'm seeing on X, am I missing something that helps me understand why he's mocking people for building successful businesses and not wanting to hand over all of their wealth to the government? No, that's pretty much it. There's no context that I'm missing.
No, I think he's trying to emulate Obama's speech and just failing miserably. He can't, because it's a really hard idea to try and sell. Because no, you didn't build this. The welfare queens who we give your tax dollars to did.
Yeah.
It's like, well, okay, I would assume, in the colloquial, you being the people who fund everything did build this, and wanting to not get our money stolen is a pretty natural instinct. And you have to be really smooth to try and pass off these Democrat ideas as smart, and Chuck Schumer is not.
And it's the mockery that we're about to see. It's like the Obama point plus disdain for you if you disagree. And if I want to be as close to Chuck Schumer's intended interpretation and context as possible, I don't think he's talking about every Republican voter. Potentially, I think he's trying to make a point about what he sees as the ultra wealthy elite who control the Republican Party. But still, you're gonna have to explain why anybody is bad for wanting to minimize their tax burden. But here's Chuck Schumer.
We are united in going after Trump and showing the American people that he is making the middle class pay for the tax cuts on the rich. Right. Today, we're doing it on Medicaid. We're going to do it very soon on the tariffs. He wants to put these tariffs in. It's going to raise you folks, the average family, $22,000 a year for these tariffs. Why is he doing that? Something so stupid.
Why?
He wants to use that money for tax cuts for the billionaires. The Republican Party is a different kettle of fish than it used to be. And that's why we're fighting them so hard. They are controlled by a small group of wealthy, greedy people. And you know what their attitude is? I made my money all by myself. How dare your government take my money from me? I don't want to pay taxes. Or, I built my company with my bare hands. How dare your government tell me how I should treat my customers, the land and water that I own, or my employees. They hate government. Government's a barrier to people. A barrier to stop them from doing things. They want to destroy it. We are not letting them do it, and we're united.
You suck. I hope Trump deports you.
They're trying to get him off the stage. Okay, Chuck, you hear the music. We got to go to break. All right.
The truth got out there when he said government is a barrier to people.
Yes,
correct. Slipped. Thank you, Chuck. No, I love it. The Republicans have changed. Now they're run by a really small cabal of greedy elites. That wasn't the case, in the 80s and 90s. No, then they were virtuous.
We loved them then. But you hear a lot of that. It's like you hear this false reminiscing, like, oh, George W. Bush, he was an honorable
he was great.
man.
He was amazing.
I disagreed with him on politics, but he was an honorable man. No, you were out there putting swastikas on his face too, or Hitler mustaches.
Yeah, remember Reagan when we all got along? Those were the good old days. No, but and they always go for this. Okay, first rule: whenever you hear them say "you folks," just folks means morons. And that's what he's actually saying.
Rubes is my preferred word.
It's the tax credits to the billionaires. Like, billionaires don't have 50 accountants who can. When you're making that kind of money, which is off stock dividends and cashing out percentages of companies that you own, taxes are not. There's a million ways to defer your taxes. The guys who get fucked by taxes are the middle class, upper middle class, and those are the ones they want to keep taking the money from. And it's the fact that anyone can still find this argument compelling that it's the Republicans just,
and they always want to frame that as redistributionism. Like, he wants to do the tariffs to pay for tax cuts for rich people. Tax cuts don't need to be paid for. You tax to pay for your bullshit. How about you stop spending so much money, and the tax cuts or the taxes in the first place are not really necessary? Like, paying for tax cuts is such a weird premise. But
I mean, you could grasp the concept if you couldn't automatically tell that you're listening to someone who probably isn't incorporated, has never had to file a bunch of different tax returns every year, has been taking from the public their entire life. The AOC argument is like, you don't have a clue what you're talking about. There could be an argument that, well, if the revenues aren't coming in from taxation, then that is money that's missing that could go to other things. But yeah, it's
Well, that's the thing. You're
very
right.
bad.
Chuck Schumer's career path is exactly like Joe Biden's. Chuck Schumer went to Harvard Law, and instead of doing anything even with legal practice, he went straight into politics. And he has been in New York state politics or federal government politics since 1975. The guy has never built anything, even a successful law firm with his prestigious Harvard law degree. This guy has no concept of what it means to build a damn thing, and he's going to lecture you about how you're greedy and mean if you don't want to fork over everything you've worked so hard for. To him, this guy has lived his entire life. For him to talk about greed and elitism, he has pointed the government gun at people his entire life, and that's how he's a millionaire now. He has just siphoned off public wealth through government force. He has never built anything, and he's going to lecture everyone else.
He's basically Robin Hood, Matt. He steals from the rich and gives to the poor.
He steals from you and gives to himself. Yeah. And then his point, these tariffs are you're gonna pay $2,000 more a year. Well, I get it. Long-term tariff policy will cost the consumer. I'm not minimizing that or trying to deny that. But I do get a kick out of the same guy who voted for these massive government spending bills that caused runaway inflation, telling us about, watch out, prices for consumers are going to go up by $2,000 a year. Yeah, because of you and your friends, it went up $8,500 a year, or $8,500 over 2 years very recently. We all remember that.
And that's the difference, is that inflation sticks around basically permanently. It's very difficult to undo the factors that cause inflation.
You can undo it, but it's basically destitution that undoes it. Yeah.
Yeah, right, exactly. But if you look at something like tariffs, you can say that there's going to be pain initially. Most of, like, basically every argument you hear from the left against Trump's policies is like, yeah, but that might kind of hurt in the short term, which is like anything good. Like, these are the people who don't go to the gym, they don't eat healthy because that's not convenient and it tastes bad. And it's like, but that'll hurt for 5 minutes, so I don't want to do it.
That's a fair point. I wonder. I mean, that is the reasoning for what Trump is doing with tariffs. It's short-term pain for long-term gain. I don't know if it's going to play out that way, but I'll certainly take your point that it is exactly that. What? Short-term sacrifice for long-term prosperity.
No.
I'll never do that. I need immediate gratification.
Yeah.
It's
really right. Like it's so much of it boils down to just it's what do they call that? The time preference?
Yeah, right?
Like,
maybe.
No. Immediate. I'm sorry. No, that's.
I'm sorry. You Canadians.
Maturity.
Anyway, what else did I?
Chuck Schumer sucks.
Yeah, what else did I have on Chuck Schumer? No, you already mentioned it. I did think the slip was interesting. Government is a barrier to people.
He's terrible at barbecuing.
Yeah.
Wasn't he the guy with the raw
he had
patties?
like the raw meat with the cheese slice on it. But this few people need the Big Bird costume like Chuck Schumer does. It's not just that he doesn't have respect for the American people anymore. It's that he's openly mocking them. He's laughing at us. The guy needs to be reminded that he works for us. He serves us. We don't serve him. And it's not just his claims that we do, or at least implicit claims. It's him up there outright making fun of the American worker, the American business owner, the guy out there who's put his blood, sweat, and tears into building something for his family and for his community. And Chuck Schumer's going to laugh at you and say, give me your money or you're a piece of shit. Yeah, please.
I've never gotten this. It's okay. The backbone of America. What built America? Entrepreneurs, small businesses, people going out there and actually building shit with their bare hands.
Yeah.
And then you're going to demoralize and rob from those people to the point that they lose all incentive to go out and do that again. Then where do you go?
Well, if anyone could out-embarrass Chuck Schumer, it's Tim Walz.
Okay.
The Gavin Newsom podcast continues to produce viral moments. Good for Gavin, I suppose, since that's clearly what he's trying to do. Many of them are viral for the wrong reasons, though, so we'll see how that plays out. But, of course, enter former vice presidential candidate, Tim Walz. In Tim Walz's appearance this week on the Gavin Newsom podcast, he simultaneously said he can kick Republicans' asses, but also he of course hates traditional masculinity, or he himself exhibits an intimidating brand of masculinity. So it's very weird to say, I don't like men because of all their toxic qualities, but also I'll beat your ass because I'm a manly man.
with a tampon.
That's what he went with. So
is he still a governor or anything?
He
or
is the governor of Minnesota. Yeah,
he's still the governor.
Yeah. Okay. So here is Tim Walz trying to explain what we need to do with those pesky men who don't want to vote Democrat anymore.
Well, they've been doing it for decades. I mean, we've saw the welfare queens. We've seen the Southern strategy. We've seen it over and over. It's an old playbook, and we're as dumb as we want to be that we allow them to do this with CRT and ESG and DEI and every three-letter word.
And then they demonize people.
Yeah, demonize, and they weaponize grievance. They other people. They talk down to people, past people. They humiliate people. They weaponize difficult issues.
Do you need a pause?
But the bottom line is, and I think it goes back to what we began.
Yes, what?
If you can, because I'd heard this before, and the amount of projection in this sort of back and forth between them. How dare Republicans, weaponize minority status and DEI and CRT and all of these acronyms that they've come up with. How dare we politicize those people and then demonize people? Just listen to it all. It's like, wow.
And I think he believes it too. I think Gavin is serious when he says that. He's not even being.
Can Gavin be serious when?
Maybe I'm giving him too much credit, but yes,
he deserves credit, but not for authenticity.
All right, maybe you're right. Anyway, okay, so they do all their demonizing and they hate all our precious acronyms. Proceed.
And I applaud you for this. Is we cannot continue to be on the defense reacting to this. We've got to go on the offense. We got to meet people where they are. But I also think this, and this is where, this is part of the conversation I'm trying to have, is you got to respect people you disagree with, and you can't just dismiss people.
How do you fight it?
This
I think I could kick most of their ass. I do think that if they wanted to. I know I can outrun them, but I don't know if we're going to fall into that place where we want to. Okay, we challenge you to a WWE fight here type of thing.
I think it's one of the reasons we're losing so many men. And again, it's multi-ethnic. It's not just white men.
These are bad guys, though. These are bad guys.
But they exist.
How do we push some of those guys back under a rock?
I think we have to first understand what their motivations are.
You don't think that's racism and misogyny?
I think there's a lot of that, but I don't think it's exclusively that.
Okay.
I love that his go-to example of masculinity is fake fighting.
I could kick your ass, but I'm too much of a man to do
it.
Yeah.
I could kick your ass in the.
But
I don't want to alienate any your audience. I'm not sure. It's not real, guys. Sorry. They're great athletes. I would never hold it against them.
Yeah. But yeah, if you want to continue with this political strategy of the concerns of men are irrelevant, it's only racism and misogyny that motivates them, go right ahead. Because Gavin's point is right. The Democrat Party is bleeding the last bit of male support that it has because it's a straight up anti-male party, or at least Tim Walz's brand of the Democrat Party absolutely is. He's there saying, if you are a man who disagrees with me, I'm not interested in hearing you. You're a bad person. You should be shoved under a rock or I'll beat your ass. Okay, that is, if you're a man who disagrees with me, fuck you. That is an anti-male perspective from the party. And notice what is absent from what he's saying there. Any attempt to persuade. Even if I disagree with every premise that he's saying there, but Gavin is being smarter in saying, well, we're losing men. What can we do to appeal to them? How would we bring them back? And Tim Walz is saying, how about double birds?
How about that? Beat them up? Yeah. Well, no, it's interesting to see Gavin actually kind of be the voice of reason on the left. He's like, well, what if we talked to them and considered their arguments? Like, no. But let's beat them up.
But I think that's the Gavin strategy too, is this podcast is a whole political strategy for his upcoming presidential campaign. One of the pieces of that strategy is bring on the lefty lunatics and I'll look comparatively sane relative to them. And he's doing that. Now,
put a bit of a Bill Maher, pull the left to the center. I'd actually said 6 months ago that I thought he was going to pull a Reagan and actually flip and go moderate right. Because I think the Democrats are done. And what I see is an actual sort of right-wing Democrats and anti-Trump Republicans kind of teaming up for a middle-of-the-road moderate party, and I think Gavin's going that way because he can try and pull the left to the center, but it's not going to happen.
Interesting. So there'd be like a third party of Trump haters and non-insane Democrats.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's a bit of a coalition to be had there. They could even pull some of the leftist, left type, liberal type MAGA people towards them if they played it right. And that's where I see Gavin going. And it's at least it could put some pressure towards the middle and away from just the insanity. Push the terrorist, tranny, gender crazy element that's been running that party. Push them to get them off.
No, the trannies are going to join that party though. Caitlyn Jenner's a piece of this story, actually.
Okay, yeah.
Caitlyn Jenner is in the party that you're describing. Because I don't have the clip, but
I thought he was full on MAGA.
Well, yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah, he is. He does support Trump, doesn't he? But so one of the things that Tim Walz had said, I didn't have it in the clip there, but he said it as part of this podcast segment, was I think I scare them a little bit. That being other men. I think I scare them a little bit, which is why they spend so much time on me. No, I'm serious because they know I can fix a truck. They know I'm not bullshitting on this.
Wow.
He can fix a truck and everyone's intimidated by his masculinity. And then, so Caitlyn Jenner entered the chat and said, wow, even I am more masculine than this clown, Tim Walz.
Fucking owned, bitch!
So, okay. That's kind of a cell phone for Caitlyn Jenner, though. Like, you are kind of masculine, though, because you're an Olympic athlete man. So, yeah. You are definitely more masculine than Tim Walz. Point taken.
Yeah. Can he change an air filter and point out an alternator? That would, if you can do both of those, you've officially beaten Mr. Walz.
Yeah, I guess. I need to see. I want to see. Make a YouTube channel, Tim. Tim Walz Mechanic Hour, and people get to bring you their cars with problems, and you get to fix it, and we all get to watch and be intimidated by your brand of masculinity. Or I don't know, Tim Walz versus Caitlyn Jenner prize fight. I'd watch that too.
I would. Yeah, WWE Tim Walz Jenner and was that Parkland kid?
Parkland kid. Oh, David Hogg.
Yeah. I need to see him fight Tim Walz.
Well, they are friends.
I've become friends with school shooters.
Or that's Nicholas Cruz, not.
Oh shit. These friends. With
well, David Hogg might have been a shooter. I don't know. You ever seen the? Speaking of conspiracy theories, you ever see the theory that David Hogg is grown up Adam Lanza?
I don't even know who Adam Lanza is.
Adam Lanza is the Sandy Hook shooter.
Oh, wow.
They look fairly similar when you see it side by side.
I would believe anything about David Hogg. He is the most bizarre human being I've ever encountered. Like,
have you ever seen the photo of him with Jen Psaki?
Oh God!
You want to see like bizarre physical dimensions? Let me pull this up. There was like an image that went viral. Yeah, Jen Psaki posted this. Let me grab it. Hold on. Look at the dimensions of what is going on here.
What the fuck?
Like she's an actual leprechaun and he is Slender Man with clown shoes.
Jeez, but isn't he only like 5 foot? Like, well, yeah, she is.
I think he's actually kind of tall, if I'm not mistaken.
Maybe that's why he looks so ridiculously gaunt. That's remarkable.
That's a strange photo, indeed.
Harry Styles wants his pants back.
I for some reason I thought you were talking about the Sasan kid or Sasan, the paid Democrat operative kid who's in trouble for sexting now.
Oh no, I didn't know. I was going straight one direction.
Yeah. Sorry, I've only been kind of casually following that on X. I don't know what's going on there. But,
yeah, me neither.
Anyway, okay. Lastly, before we get to calls and some email questions, speaking of embarrassing podcast appearances. Former CNN host Don Lemon was a guest on Bill Maher's podcast this week. And Don Lemon says he has been routinely sexually harassed, even by women, while working at CNN. In fact, it happened all the time.
I doubt it.
So here's a trip down Don Lemon memory lane.
I've been harassed by women and men. I remember when I was in Atlanta and was in the cafeteria, commissary, whatever.
At CNN?
At CNN. This woman, young lady, tweaked my nipples and said, "Oh, it's cold in here." And I said, "Okay, you realize if I did that, they'd be walking me out the door right now." But I didn't care. I didn't go to HR. I didn't say anything because I was just like, it's a double standard.
Good for you.
Someone who I worked with also harassed me at CNN, and I never went to management. First of all, I was so
A man
new
or
there.
a woman?
A woman. And she knew I was gay.
So you had to be with her in certain business occasions, but outside the office?
Outside the
like at a cocktail party?
Maybe.
Places like that.
A lot of cocktail parties. And remember, this was a while ago when there was not Uber, anything like that. And if you are in Atlanta, their taxis aren't available. And so, you say, "Hey, we've had a couple of drinks, and do you mind if I or whatever?" No, don't go home. Stay in the guest room, that sort of thing. So, yeah.
The guest room?
Yeah.
Oh, you were staying at somebody's house. Right.
Look, as someone who was molested as a child,
you were?
Yeah.
Oh.
So for me, it is a whole different thing. I know how to say.
Sure. Must be very triggering.
Okay. Now, you'll recall that Don Lemon himself was accused of a sexual assault in a lawsuit a few years ago. Now, the case was dropped. And of course, an accusation is not guilt. However, the facts alleged in that case were very similar to what Don was describing here. Too much to drink at a bar, people getting touchy, all that sort of stuff. Again, Don Lemon not found liable or guilty in that case, but what is more likely here? That women are just throwing themselves at gay Don Lemon because he's so irresistible, or that Don Lemon kind of had a habit of drinking plenty at social gatherings and things got routinely weird around the common thread that is Don Lemon. I'm not trying to victim blame per se. Do you buy that he was a sexual harassment victim all the time, or that he drank too much and has a distorted perception of what happened?
I'm still trying to decode that last story.
So I was sexually abused,
and nobody's in Atlanta, I think he said, and taxis are hard to find. And someone was like, "No, don't take a cab, stay here," which sounds
stay
like
in my bed,
shit faced. And he didn't even say that. It was like, "No, you're fucked up." Like, sorry, just don't go outside. You're a mess.
You can
and
say
it's like,
whatever
"Oh
words
my
you
god,
want."
harassment.
Yeah.
And then a nipple tweak on a guy. That's like, what's the bar here for harassment?
Well, he said he didn't pursue it. He didn't bring that one to CNN HR. He let it slide.
Yeah, I can imagine someone saying it's cold in here too. He is a gay man, so I guess he's extra sensitive in that area.
That last part about like, oh, by the way, I was sexually abused as a child. Yeah, that's kind of the lead, dude.
Yeah,
that
was a Hail Mary when you're throwing out like 6 and you get nothing. You're like, well, and kid stuff.
But I do buy that. Why is Don Lemon the way that he is? Why is Don Lemon gay? Why is Don Lemon involved in all sorts of accusations and apparently receiving all sorts of inappropriate touching? I was sexually abused as a kid.
You don't have a "Why are you gay" sounder?
I have many.
Why are you gay?
I guess what I just have to say to you is, are you gay?
Are you gay?
Are you a gay man?
I will eat your ass.
There are dozens.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Milo enters the chat. No,
please, I don't want his wrath brought upon me. Do not speak that name.
We love you, Milo. Find that cat.
Did he find the cat? Has the cat been?
No idea.
Okay, all right.
There's a $25,000 reward. Apparently,
I'm gonna move to LA and find that cat. That's a great career opportunity at this point.
Yeah.
Okay. So Don Lemon says, I was sexually assaulted as a kid. Now, maybe that's true. Maybe it's not.
Definitely.
Assuming that's true, though, are we just going to pretend that event really has nothing to do with the rest of what he's talking about? Recall when you used to be able to study this sort of thing and it wasn't politically protected. Few examples. 1997, Journal of General Internal Medicine, published by the NIH. 36% of gay men report being sexually abused as children. 2001, Archives of Sexual Behavior, again, published by the NIH. Gay men and lesbian women report a significantly higher rate of child molestation than heterosexual men and women, almost half of gay men, according to this study from 2001. As in, half of gay men were sexually abused in their younger years. 1992, Science Direct. 37% of gay men reported that they had been encouraged or forced to have sexual contact before age 19 with an older or more powerful partner. And these are people who are willing to say it in some public context, as in to a researcher.
Report.
I don't usually like the
report.
Yeah, I usually don't like the feminist argument of like, well, these are just the reported ones. You know it's higher. We don't know that it's higher, but if I had to guess if it's higher, if this number, the true number is higher or lower than these, I think it's higher because probably a lot of people who are sexually abused and don't say anything to anybody in any context.
They might be gay, but they're still men, and men aren't known for like bragging about that stuff generally, unless they're on the Bill Maher show and trying to gain some kind of
point of all of it. Don Lemon is a messed up dude. He wasn't born that way. We shouldn't pretend that he was. There are a lot of factors in Don Lemon's life that explain why he is Don Lemon, the man we all know now. And
YouTube sensation, Don Lemon.
Yeah. I feel this is not like to dunk on him or laugh on him necessarily either. If that's true, if he was sexually abused as a young man, it does explain a lot of his adult behavior, and it's very sad. It doesn't justify it, but it does explain a lot of it. It's consistent with a trend. So
yeah, well, admitting it's the first step.
It was just it was just tossed in there at the end. Anyway, all right, we got to get to calls. Let's see who would like to discuss some stuff tonight, and then we will get into emails as well. All right. First up tonight is Reinhardt. Got to unmute myself in Discord. You do the same.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Reinhardt, are you there?
Yeah. Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Are you familiar with the new rules?
I am. I will be brief.
All right. You're up.
I just want to know how you're feeling so far. I haven't really checked in a while. Are you happy with Trump's job so far or not?
That's
Generally.
it?
Yeah, I'm just kind of taking the temperature.
I would say I'm overall satisfied, but there have been some big disappointments too. Like, do I regret voting for him? No. Do I think the country's on a better trajectory because of him? Yeah. I would say the biggest disappointment so far, the Epstein files was a huge bomb. And then the pace of the deportations, I think, is fair to criticize as well. And then the tariffs.
Oh, thank God.
The tariffs also are lacking clarity. I'm not necessarily opposed to the policy of exerting leverage, but it's at this point it's kind of unclear what he's actually trying to achieve. So overall, I would grade. I mean, it's hard. It's like we're 2 months in. I would grade his performance so far at like I'd give it a solid B. Is that fair? I don't know. B minus.
Yeah, I think maybe he could if there could be just a little bit more communication. Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like with the tariff thing, tell us. You don't want to throw out your cards if you are what I believe he's doing, what I hope he's doing, and we're on the receiving end of this, and it's wreaking havoc here. But show us the plan. If showing the plan is not going to mess up the plan, I would like. There's a lot of things where I'm like, where's he going with this?
Yeah,
like with the Israel stuff. I mean, we think we can all be pretty sure that there is some Zionist type sponsorship going on. Like he's clearly aligned with a certain group of people that with a certain desired outcome in that region.
You said it, not me, man.
or you have
for sure. I think.
Yeah. Why don't you answer your own question, and then we'll let you go.
Yeah. My thing is, I'm glad you said deportations because everybody seems to be overall happy, and I'm overall upset because the biggest promises he made are the ones he was first to bail on. And even the tariffs, which I didn't think was a huge promise of the campaign, even that seems to be more of a diplomatic negotiation tactic than an actual policy because, well, maybe we'll enforce this and maybe we'll do it then. And like you said, it's all wishy-washy and unclear. It seems to be a negotiation tactic to negotiate better trade deals. And that's not what we were told. We were told we're going to get rid of the income tax and we're going to use tariffs to make up the difference. That's the big promise. You know, you're talking about tens of thousands of dollars for every American.
Yeah. It's also a very big hurdle to clear to get something like that through Congress, even though it
No, I
shouldn't
agree.
be. But yeah, I'll take your point that as someone who I would prefer tariffs as a mechanism of fundraising for the federal government over income tax, but I would definitely not prefer tariffs plus income tax, to your point.
Right, and it looks like that's what we're going to get.
Yeah.
So I've been kind of upset with that. The biggest thing is immigration, and people sit to your point. I know it's only been 2 months, but if he's going to gear up to deport millions, which was the promise, mass deportations, then he needs to be asking for a hell of a lot more than $35 billion a year, optimistically, if he gets what he's asking for.
Mm-hmm.
And that wouldn't even be enough to cover the wall. You know, if to deport millions, we've got about 6,000 removal agents in ICE, and we'll go conservative and say 60 million illegals.
That's the conservative estimate. It definitely could be that high, but yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
There
no,
are a
I
lot.
think it is. It was 30 million in the 90s. You know, this 11 million number, that was always a very, very low ball because it was the Democrats saying, oh, well, the official number is 11 million. And
All
it's
right,
been
well,
that much since 1996.
I got to let you go, man, but I appreciate the call in, and thanks for the thoughts.
All right, sure. Later.
See you, man. Okay, next up we got Golden Leaf. Golden Leaf, are you there?
Yes, I am. How are you guys doing today?
We are well. What's on your mind?
I want to give you guys a little story. No politics today. A real funny military story. How's that sound?
Sure.
So, it was during the Korean War. Matt, let's say you're the captain of the proud USS Wisconsin, Iowa-class battleship. And, you know, your ship has been engaged by the enemy because they fear you so much how powerful your ship is. One day, you're just patrolling around the North Korean waters, and all of a sudden, your ship gets hit by the first time by a 152 millimeter Korean artillery shell. How do you respond?
My ship got hit by a Korean artillery shell. How do I respond?
Yeah.
Are these Koreans within firing range?
North Korean. You're a battleship, of course.
Okay, well then I shoot them.
Well, this story is actually a true one. So the U.S. Wisconsin did get hit for the first time ever. 3 people were injured. It caused a little bit of damage on the deck. The Wisconsin answered by turning all 3 guns full salvo that pushed the ship back 4 feet. And not only destroyed the artillery emplacement, but also destroyed the hill it was on.
Okay.
Good response.
Yeah, I guess so. Good call.
Great answer.
The funny thing was the ship that was like escorting, like a little escort ship, they sent a message to the Wisconsin, and it just was the words temper, temper.
Temper, temper.
Yeah.
Wait, as in who had the temper?
The Wisconsin?
The Wisconsin, because they fired all 3 guns at the same time.
Okay, but their temper seems justified. Yeah.
Yes, it was, and I think the ship responded that they started it.
Wow.
Which military stuff is interesting. If you ever just want to do a deep dive, look into it would either be the Fat Electrician. I think you would love him just for military history, not only for equipment, but also the people of that era, because holy hell, there's a lot of badasses in history. That's all I gotta say.
All right. Well, thank you for the call. Do you have a joke for us on parting?
I don't. I actually have a fact.
Oh, okay.
What was the original color that was supposed to be for St. Patrick's Day?
Orange.
Yellow.
What about the answer was blue.
Wow.
It actually, yeah. I didn't even know that until I looked. I was like, yeah, it was originally blue.
All right.
Why?
I have to look back on it. I read it like
come on,
days ago.
Now I gotta ask Grok.
Yeah, I guess so. We're gonna have to get an answer on that.
I
All right.
balled you, man. I'm sorry.
Thank you for calling in, man. Appreciate it.
Have a good day, everyone.
Thanks.
All right. Last call tonight goes to Chrome, and Chrome is a new caller. Welcome to the show, Chrome.
Howdy, guys. How's it going?
We are well. Are you familiar with the rules?
More or less.
right.
YouTube appropriate and all that.
No, I just mean time-wise. YouTube
Oh, yeah,
appropriate is
like-
debatable, but
Yeah, like 2 minutes ish.
but yeah, if you're ready, go ahead.
All right. Well, Matt, first off, I want to say I was a big fan of the old show. I just never have Wednesdays off ever. So now I do. So now I can call in.
Cool.
I got to say the show's gotten a lot better.
Oh, well, thanks.
Few months. I did kind of want to ask if are you doing anything for the Lenten season this year?
No, I haven't. I haven't decided to give a particular thing up, I suppose.
Gotcha.
I mean, I am. You know, obviously, this is the first time I've gone through this season as a member of the Christian faith. And so pursuant to that, there are all sorts of aspects of my life in which I'm trying to apply more discipline and trying to be more patient and trying to do all of those things. But yeah, I didn't make like a specific, there's not a specific thing I decided to give up for the season.
You know, that's totally fair. I mean, a lot of people, especially with Lent, a lot of people have a lot of trouble with that. Giving something up, especially like if you're Catholic like I am, there's fasting rules and whatnot that you have to abide by. It's a much harder part of the faith to get into. So part of me wanted to ask, what was it that set you on to Christianity specifically? As opposed to like, if it's just social conservatism, I mean, you could have picked Islam. They're fairly socially
Yeah, it's a little more than that, but I tell you what, you got about 30 seconds left on your call. So are there thoughts that you want to offer, and then I'll let you go and I'll speak to that?
Honestly, no, man, you're doing so good with the show. I'm so happy to see where it's come. Yeah, it's very, very well done.
We love you. You're very special.
Well, thank you for the kind words. I appreciate that. You're welcome to hang out here while I address that point. So why Christianity specifically as opposed to another faith tradition? Reason being because I'm observant of my neighbors and of my community, and I see lives that are being led successfully. And I've just reached a point. Well, the reason I embrace the title is a separate story. And that's because the path revealed itself to me in my email inbox, which is a long story of the demon people and the godly people. And the path toward the godly people became very clear, and I decided to take it. But why Christianity specifically as opposed to any other faith? It's really because...
You're white.
Sorry, what?
Is it because you're white?
I guess. Yeah, I don't know.
It's that simple.
No, it's because I can observe the results of those who follow the path. And near universally, they're living great lives. They're happy. They're successful. They're prosperous. Do I have every answer about the life of Christ and about every piece of scripture and some sort of book-like knowledge on that? No, I don't. But I do have enough observational ability to see people living a life successfully and realize that maybe they're onto something, and that maybe I would and my family would be better if we decided to walk that path too. So that's why I decided to go with it. In addition to all the community benefits and friendship benefits and all the other things that it's brought to me, it's really just looking at what lives are working out and what lives aren't. And those who choose to follow him seems to be working out pretty well on average for them. And that's why.
Great reason. Fantastic reasoning. And you know them by their fruit. That's at least what they say in the Bible.
Well, thanks, man. I appreciate your kind words and calling in. So I hope to hear from you again sometime soon.
Absolutely.
All right.
Thanks.
That'll do it on calls this evening. Appreciate our callers. Got a few emails now that we're bringing emails back into the show. And as a reminder, if you'd like to send an email to the show, you can do that through the contact page of my website. That's mattchristiansenmedia.com/contact. Linked in the description, look for the MC Live questions box, and you can submit them there. So you're welcome to chime in. By the way, I forgot to get you involved in that too, in that particular question. I don't know your faith perspective. Do you have one?
I was raised fundamentalist Christian, Protestant,
Okay.
Evangelical fundamental. I don't know. There's like a long name for officially what it is, but yeah, I had my rebellious younger days, but having sort of moved away from everyone I knew and everything, and being surrounded by people who were not Christian, I sort of found out from them that I am, and it's something I can't not be. And then I learned to embrace it. Once you are surrounded by people who aren't Christian, they look at you and go, "Yeah, you're Christian. You don't. What do you mean? What do you mean you're atheist?" Like, fuck
I
off.
suppose that
Bullshit.
kind of happened to me. You know, they were calling me Matt Almost Christiansen for a couple of years because I was doing this Bible study, and it's like, yeah, I want to learn about this, and I see the lives that are successful, and I want to figure that out. But I had this hesitation of embracing the title because I didn't feel like I could explain why I embraced that title. Though now that's clear in my head, and I can. But yeah, at some point you're like, well, if I'm not on that path, then what the hell path am I on? Who am I following if not him? What am I doing?
Right.
And
Dylan was right with you got to serve somebody. And, and also I feel like if you're Western at all, there's a lot of denialism going on. Like even the far left, whatever, their whole ideology is just a fucked up bastardization of Christianity. And I think a lot of people don't realize that it's the broth you're brewed in, and coming to terms with that and just embracing it and accepting it will help you move along in a healthy way. So just like get over it, and you're not better. I think there's a lot of ego. It's hard for people to just be like, yeah, I'm Christian and I'm okay with that.
And the exercise in humility is good for you too. And that's one thing I find important and attractive about faith is people realize there is something above them to which they are bound. They are not they're not their own masters in that way. I mean, we all have free will and we have agency, but you're serving something. You're in pursuit of something. And the question is what? And it's not just your own earthly desires, your own earthly pleasures and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Is there something bigger than you? And then just the element of faith, having faith.
Yeah.
That took me a while. I was like, no, I have to understand it. And I was big into Hitchens and all those guys for a while, the new atheists who were terrible. And then it was actually my mom who was like, no, read the Bible. It says, don't rely on your mind. Have faith and just believe. And that helped me be okay with it.
How are you doing on time? I know, as I told you, I was trying to condense this show down toward an hour, and I'm incapable of doing that.
Once I get going, I don't want to stop. Okay. So I'm here.
I got 3 email questions, then I'll close out with Super Chat. So let's take on these 3 email questions, and I have some thoughts about them, but you're welcome to chime in as well. So Goof Custom says, obviously, people of our political persuasion do not consider healthcare, we talked about this at the start of the show, do not consider healthcare to be a human right because of negative rights versus positive rights. But by the same token, we consider arms a right as enshrined in the Second Amendment. But you're still not entitled...
like guns. Okay, I was what?
No, Chuck Schumer can chop off your arms if he wants to. You owe that to him. Right, guns.
Yeah.
You're still not entitled to the work of a gunsmith, though. Right, and those guns, too. So what would you think of healthcare being enshrined as a right with reference to the second, in the sense that the right to healthcare shall not be provided, but nor shall access to healthcare be infringed upon? Now, I'm with this in concept, as in generally speaking, you have a right to the consenting services of another person, like a right to contract type concept, if not constitutionally, just morally, generally speaking. But I don't necessarily want medicine or medical services to be some special carve out in that way. And I would be very careful about establishing, I know you're saying you don't have a right to services like someone has to provide that to you, but a right to services that cannot be denied by the state or your neighbors acting through whatever political organization you have.
Yeah, is this like a gay wedding cake kind of deal? Like you can't, that health providers wouldn't be allowed to not there's like, I don't understand how you functionally guarantee access to something without also guaranteeing that thing.
I think he's saying it's not guaranteed access. It's that the state shall not intervene in access you have already secured, I think is the way.
Is there an instance of that happening?
Yes. I actually think it's important. I'll give you an example because it depends on what is healthcare. And we know that the definition of healthcare is very broad. And that's why I would be careful about enshrining this, particularly at the federal level. Because if you're saying the state constitutionally has no role in intervening in any medical services that have been, that you have an agreement to receive, okay, what is a medical service? Abortion? Certainly many people would consider it that. But a lot, I'm telling you, once this is in the hands of the federal government, if you say that the government can't interfere with medical services that you have secured, all of a sudden
that they're going to go there immediately.
There's your abortion right, gender transitions, maybe for minors, that sort of stuff. I certainly grant your point that you don't want the state interfering with medical services that you have secured. I think the way to handle that, though, is just by making sure that the entire industry, like any other, is regulated at the state level. And the solution there is, if you don't like the way that the government is handling the services, handling the medical industry or the services provided within it, that the solution there is you are allowed to leave that state, go to a different state that has a regulatory structure that is more suitable to you. That's the way that I would protect it. I would not do this at the federal level. I just think it's too ripe for abuse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I mean, I think this is the problem, because the argument is always between the American system and the Canadian system. The problem with that is they're both absolutely terrible. Okay, we have single payer, so we get prescriptions and other things, a lot of medications at a much reduced rate than America does, even though you produce them. But if you actually want to see a doctor, good luck. Doesn't happen in Canada. I don't have a GP. I haven't since I was a kid.
How hard would it be? Like, you just want to get a checkup?
Oh, you're never going to. Well, you can go to a clinic and you take a number and they'll call you in 12 to 16 hours. And then you go back.
That sounds lightning quick. I thought you were going to say days or months or weeks.
Well, it depends. No, that's just to see you.
Oh.
And then depending on what you need, that can be months or weeks if it's surgery or if it's something that's no, like if you're having a heart attack, like if I one time had a panic attack and called the hospital, and ambulance was here. They took me in, they saw me right away, and it's covered. But I'm an old man. I don't go to the doctor. I don't go to the hospital for many things.
Yeah.
And I pay exorbitantly more than I would ever pay for full health insurance in the US. And it's something that I don't use. And when you do use it, if you actually do need it and you need a hip replacement or organ transplant or something like that, you can be waiting for years. And even if just at the emergency room, you're waiting 8 hours is like the minimum. So when you're
even
paying
if you're at the ER, presumably you're not getting a checkup. You have some sort of urgent circumstance.
Well, yeah,
how's the
trick
triage?
Is call an ambulance, because if an ambulance takes you there, they see you immediately, but you will pay for the ambulance. That's not covered.
Oh, that's not covered by your.
Yeah, neither is dental, neither is optical. So eyes, teeth, anything like that, not covered. Actually, well, they just changed dental like last year. But yeah, most of the things that you would actually commonly use are not covered. And we pay crazy amounts of taxes for a system that's absolutely terrible. And the likelihood of them just accidentally killing you is like 50%. I know someone who, her dad got sick, her sister went in to see her dad in the hospital, and they both died.
Wait, say that again. Her dad got sick.
Her sister went to see her dad in the hospital and got something.
She contracted an illness in the hospital?
Her sister and her dad both died.
What the?
That's like this, and like shit like this is not unheard of in Canada. This is like it's terrible. But the American system's just as bad. The amount that you guys pay for insurance and the amount that the hospitals jack up the prices on everything, that's terrible too. One of the best systems I've ever heard.
Slow down
kind
there,
of
Luigi. We have an awesome system. No, I'll take your point. But there's some problems. But
this is probably bullshit, but I heard there's a system in ancient China where you actually would pay a doctor to keep you healthy. And if you got sick, you would stop paying. So you'd pay him whatever, $50 a month, $100 a month to advise you, like preemptively, preventatively, to do things in your life that would stop you from getting sick.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, that makes a lot more sense than either of our systems.
Well, yeah, the biggest factor is lifestyle choices. I mean, you want to,
right. Nutrition, health. That's why I'm a huge fan of RFK, and I'm happy that he's actually addressing some of the underlying things that are the cause of our countries just being in
just don't take my Skippy peanut butter. That's all I say. Don't make me eat natural peanut butter. I'm out if he does that.
I think that's the least of your worries.
He's coming for it, man. He's going to steal it out of my pantry.
Is he going to go? Yeah, it'll just be brown.
Yeah, he's coming from. I know he's going to do it. He's going to sneak in and take it. But all right, another question: Jogger, Jigaboo, Moon Cricket, Mick N-word.
The N-word. You know what the N-word is?
I think I can say them all except for the hard R N-word. Although I don't know. Raja Buhan is pretty permissive sometimes these days. Have you acquired any cool guns or related kit lately? I recently picked up a bayonet for an 1895 Mauser rifle. Love the aesthetic of old world bayonets. Looking forward to chasing wild hogs with dogs and using it to shank a pig with it.
Jeez.
I've never gone pig shanking, but hope you have a good time. I actually have not bought a gun for a year and a half now. I think it's a product of being a dad of young kids with another one on the way. Financial priorities are elsewhere. So the last gun that I bought was a Palmetto State Dagger, the Glock clone. That was in 2023, and really my days of fun gun purchases, they're paused for a while. But it's worthwhile when you can do it. It's fun.
You have a decent collection, though.
What's the Canadian definition of decent?
Like any is the Canadian definition. I have two rifles, and I'm like fucking Rambo up here, and Trudeau just banned them. So I can't use them or carry them or fire them. I can just keep them.
You can have them, but you can't use them
Can't sell
anywhere?
them. Can't use them. Can't transport them.
You can't go to a range and shoot them?
Nope.
But they're legal to possess.
I can keep them locked up in my dwelling.
Okay.
Yeah, isn't that great?
No, I mean, I don't necessarily discuss I've mentioned some stuff I have. I don't have any like collector's items or any super fancy stuff. I've got a few what I would call like life and liberty pieces that like if, when
the basics.
When Civil War II hits, like I know which ones I'm grabbing. But I don't have anything that would make anybody be like super impressed or something. I don't like to talk about the number either because I just don't want people to know, but it's
smart.
It's more than your Canadian arsenal. I'm confident in that. Yeah.
I managed to get full on tactical kit, and it was very difficult up here.
Just to buy what, like the armor and stuff?
Yeah, like plate carriers. You can get them, but I mean just getting your license for a regular rifle is a year-long process.
Sorry about the process, they say to you up there, you guys.
It is the punishment.
Yeah, kitchen sink. Is your admiration for Fetterman purely for the memes, or are you actually convinced he is coming around to other ideas? He strikes me as being politically practical in standing up to his own party in front of the cameras because he sees the way Pennsylvania voted in the election. Yet he votes party line in spite of his verbal chastisement. He would still put a knife in your back while condemning his fellows, calling for you to be shanked. Yeah. To the point, I would say that my appreciation of Fetterman is 95+% memes and about 5% sincere. The 5% is what you're talking about. It's his willingness to stand up to his party. Although to your point, that might be just more practical political consideration than his commitment to any principle or anything like that. But of course, the way he trolls for cameras matters a lot less than the way he votes in Congress, and the way he votes for Congress is basically crazy person voting. More or less, with a few exceptions here or there. So would I ever vote for John Fetterman? I would not. I can't imagine a scenario in which I would. If he was up against someone even crazier than him, I'd probably just abstain from voting, is what I would do. But I can appreciate what he adds to politics. What he adds to politics is a critical voice of the Democrat Party from within the party, whether he's totally sincere in that or not. And he is actually a funny Democrat, which is incredibly rare. There are almost no funny people in that party. Not that like the Republicans are loaded with comedians or something, but the Democrats are so far detached from reality that they're just incapable of comedy, because for anything to be funny, it has to have a truth element. If there's no truth element, it's not funny. It's just weird, Tim Walz. And somehow Fetterman manages to catch those little kernels of truth and use them effectively in a funny way. But you got an opinion on Based Frankenstein, John Fetterman?
I think it's remarkable that he's like the most well-spoken Democrat.
Yeah.
Like the smartest sounding one of the lot is the guy with brain damage.
Yeah.
It says more than it should about that party currently. I mean, I just saw something that I don't know who did the poll, but they asked who aligns the best with the party's values, and AOC came out on top with 10%.
Yeah, I think it was who's the leader of the party was the poll.
Was that the leader or yeah, which is amazing.
Very fractured because everybody was like 10% or less. There's no clear winner.
Yeah, which is 100%
And you know,
understandable.
where the hell is Kamala Harris? You know, I said this about George W. Bush after his presidency.
She's on a beach.
You know,
she's in like wherever she's from.
George W. Bush fucked
Kenya
right
Stan.
off, and nobody heard from him after he ended his
Where's
presidency. Biden is, I mean, he died.
Have you seen? He's gone.
He died years and years and years ago.
Come on, man.
Somewhere he's around. But but Kamala Harris is alive. She's just, I don't know what she's doing. And her political future is really weird too, because if she tries to run for president again, she's going to get crushed. She will fail miserably. It'll be hugely embarrassing. If she goes and runs for California governor, that's sort of a downgrade. It's a demotion, even though she probably could win.
Right. From vice president. I mean, I think her political future is 100% reliant on Gavin Newsom and which way he goes. As far as I know, I have not heard a peep from her or whether she intends on running or has ambitions. Does anyone know?
I think she gave like one speech a couple weeks ago or at some event.
Yeah, and I think she's going to write books and give speeches. Like she's done. She's like, I think she realized about halfway through this was not for her.
Yeah.
Like she was not into it. She didn't want to win. She's like, the VP thing was fine because I didn't have to do shit or go anywhere. But like actually running, you could tell she was like, no.
Yeah, they proclaimed their joy, but it didn't seem like she was really enjoying
saying the word joy,
the process. Yeah.
Communicate.
Sorry, I'm going to take infinite shots at Canadian pronunciation. It's what I do.
Oh, I missed it.
Oh, so it's totally over your head. Good. All right.
Yeah.
You guys say sorry and process and all these weirdly pronounced words.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Anyway.
And I have a fucked up accent too because I'm from out west and then live in Quebec and I got all these Frenchisms and it's
all right. Well, let me read some super chats. We'll call it a night, my man. I appreciate your extended time this evening. It's been my pleasure. So, Long Dong John, Matt and I once made love. Long-standing thing in my chat is jokes about Matt and I once made love. All right, Matt and I once made love.
Matt, I'm a long-time listener.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if you were in on the chat memes like that. He said no at first before a federal judge intervened with a court order to make him do it. Thank you, unaccountable judiciary. Well, I appreciate that.
That's a big game, man.
Ooga Boogaloo, Matt and I once made emails. I struggled to come up with 5 things that I did last week. Matt just listed 5 guys from his audience. All right.
Many of those people probably have AIDS.
Joshy boy. I've seen bulldogs and pugs frown less than Tim Walz. That's probably true. He does have a weird default or resting face, you know? He does have kind of like a dog-like face himself. Yeah. But awfully frowny for a man of such joy, too. But yeah, I guess I'd be frowning if I had kicked so many asses all day long. It's kind of demoralizing. And it's like, what is the purpose of my life? All I do is beat people up. I'm a manly man, Tim Walz.
Wasn't he like a football coach or something?
Yeah, he was like...
I'd heard he actually did a one-man thing at one point.
Well, yeah, and of course he was in the National Guard before he skipped out before...
I said man thing.
Yeah. So he was like an assistant coach, and I think he lied about that too and said he was a head coach.
Okay. Yeah. Probably it's one of those you find out. It's like, oh no, he carried the ball one time.
He was a football coach of some sort. Yes.
Yeah. It's a broad category.
Dangerous Spaces, our friendly call screener. He says 4 years ago, March 10th, 2021, Matt made the huge mistake of employing some obnoxious Aussie schmuck at the time the call-in show. He's been too proud to admit such an error and said. And has kept that Aussie schmuck around. So here's to many more years of Matt muttering to himself, wow, that was a bad idea, but stubbornly not admitting to the rest of the world. Really appreciate it. Well, thank you, Tim. Okay,
we love you.
There we go.
You're very special.
I didn't know it was Tim's 4-year work anniversary, but thanks for sticking around so long. And on behalf of the audience, too, Tim is very helpful to people trying to call the show or just figure out how the stream works or how to interact. So we really appreciate that. Thank you, Tim. Spirit of Lexington, the protecting our democracy people are telling us that the democratically elected executive doesn't actually run the executive branch. Instead, it's actually non-elected judges who do so. Yeah, I mean, again, there is sort of resolving legal disputes between parties. I get that. Judges are humans. They're going to get things wrong sometimes. But then there's this, no, I am the law. I am all three branches of the government. I write the law, I execute the law, I tell you what the law is. It is getting really out of control. It's and it's all these preemptive measures to stop certain actions or to compel certain actions before the legal question has actually been adjudicated. They don't even have the restraint to say, okay, we're going to evaluate this. For now, we're going to let it proceed, even though that may have some problems, but I don't want to overstep my role as a judge and suddenly become the president or a member of Congress or something like that. These people are completely crazy these days.
Yeah. It seems strange to me, and maybe I could be retarded just because I'm really unfamiliar with this part of the American political system, but I still don't understand. Like, it seems like there needs to be a readdress of the structure. Like, at what? Because I know that you have like certain circuits of courts, and they have different things. Like here we have municipal, and then federal, and then the Supreme. But at what level of court circuitry does a judge need to be to supersede the president? Like, what are the judges' jurisdictions? It's very bizarre.
It's pretty much made up. But the problem is the accountability mechanism. The accountability mechanisms. There are some things Congress can do in terms of how the courts are structured, and then there's also impeachment, as in removal of those judges from office. The problem is, and I think this is a thing that the founders were aware of in some of the Federalist Papers writings and some other founding era writings, and I think it's been realized. The assumption in our constitutional structure is that the branches of government are going to defend their own roles and check each other in the way the Constitution prescribes. The problem is that party has really, and party loyalty and political preference has really superseded that. So
right, but isn't the judiciary limited? Like, isn't there sort of state? Like, I would assume as an outsider that the only judge or level of the judicial branch that could supersede the executive branch would be the Supreme Court.
Well, this is all within the federal court structure. Everything that's going on here is in the federal courts.
It is, okay.
But to the point that you're discussing, there are many different districts.
But aren't the districts just geological zones? Like, isn't the
geographical?
Just like
yeah. They might have different
different levels of strata.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yes, they're a geographic district, but and so the point is, if you have a dispute of federal law in, say, Montana, and the way federal law is being applied here, or someone's being prosecuted under federal law, that's going to be prosecuted in the federal court district here. That another way that these judges are exceeding their authority is oftentimes they're issuing nationwide injunctions. So even though there might be a dispute about federal law in the state of Montana or in DC, where a lot of this stuff is coming from here, it's not just an injunction like, okay, in the state of Montana, we're pausing this because it's unclear how this federal law resolves with X, Y, and Z. It's, I'm the judge who covers the entire country for some reason, even though I'm only in this one particular federal court district.
Right.
And there's really no accountability mechanism other than impeachment or some other form of congressional action to take these to bring these people to heel. The problem is Democrats. It's not just Democrats. Republicans do this stuff too. Members of Congress care more about whether their party is winning or not than they do, say, maintaining the proper constitutional order.
Right. And because these district judges, sorry, I'm being a bit of the everyman here, but maybe it'll be an education for some of your audience. Because these district judges are federally, like, they're appointed by the president, right? Like, I know that
they're nominated and then confirmed by the Senate.
Interesting.
Yes. Thank you. Spirit of Lexington. GR says, hey, I'm not ready for GR. Where's, hold on. Hey, my
Kaniga.
You see the Harry Sisson scandal? This is what I was talking about. I don't know if that's how you say his name, but I'm going.
Oh, Harry Sisson.
Sisson? Is that how you say it?
The like Instagram guy?
Yeah. Well, the
paid
Democrat
Gen Z kid. Yeah.
Sarah Fields and her buddy were having a real Christhon? I don't know what that is. Last night in Twitter Spaces over the victims whom they hosted, 3 of them. So supposedly he's been like soliciting nudes or sending nudes. I don't know what exactly is going on there, but
probably that.
I think he grabbed Don Lemon's nipples is what happened. GR also says it's
while David Hogg was in the chair in the corner.
If true, don't care about the accusations right now, or if true, don't care as the accusations stand right now. Okay. I thought he was gay anyway. He told the girls he was never serious with that they're the one. Stop the press is more surprising. It was young women. Okay, so he's just surprised that it wasn't actually a Don Lemon incident, that it was supposedly heterosexual in nature.
How bad is it that men are impressed? Okay, well, at least he was harassing members of the opposite sex. Some amount of kudos.
The spirit of Lexington, we do want government restrained even to the point of potentially helping criminals. However, non-citizenship definitely changes the math. It does. That's another angle on all of this. Like legal status quo in this country is, generally speaking, foreigners still have constitutional rights before our government. Not
why.
Yeah, why
is that?
I don't know.
I don't get it.
I don't know how that standard was established and what the founding intent was. Just like gut level, without a knowledge on this, it does seem sort of counterintuitive to me that the founding intent was that foreigners, especially foreigners with no right to be here. Now, if you hold a green card or you have some legal residence here, I think it would make sense that you have.
Isn't that the entire point of those artifacts? Is that they represent some type of like approved status?
Yeah, but if you're just a guy,
anyone gets. What's the point of a green card if you have rights without it?
I guess the best I can say of the due process right for someone who has no legal right to be here is that the question of whether you're here lawfully, legally, rightfully, or not is still one that requires adjudication. And because we run our court system a certain way in this country, it has to follow certain rules.
Yeah, but you could still default to doing that while they're out. Like, get the fuck out, and then we'll figure out whether or not you should be. Because it seems insane to do it the other way around.
Why don't we just
why don't we let everyone in and then figure out if they should be?
That's kind of what Guantanamo is. It's like
it should be guilty until proven innocent when you want entry into someone else's country. No, prove it, then get in.
Well, I also consider like deportation is a little bit different than say incarceration or criminal conviction. It's get the hell out of here.
What's the big deal?
However,
it's literally not infringing on any rights whatsoever.
Except
them being here is infringing on people's rights.
Yes, I would agree. Except in the case of sending them to El Salvador, they are putting them in prison that the U.S. is paying for. So
we're paying for the prisons?
Yeah, we're paying that guy, that El Salvador guy, money for the prison services. So it's a little more than just get the hell out of here. There is like an incarceration component to it.
Beats Gitmo,
I guess.
I mean, well, actually, I don't know. I've seen some stuff about his prisons, and they don't look fun.
GR also says. Oh, wait, GR has a few here. They had their feminist circle jerk yesterday, booting anybody who disagreed with the victimhood. This must be the Harry thing. These dumb leftist bitches fell for it like any other woman, and they're just mad that they're mad at Harry J. Tank. I don't know what it, no. Yeah, that's his name.
I'm lost.
GR also says, in all fairness, he stole from Senator Pocahontas. She was the you didn't build that creator. Oh, Obama did. Plagiarist, just like his VP. Who knew? All fucking worthless commie demon rats, if you ask me. I always love that he says demon rats unironically. I love reading left-wing comment sections and all there. But right-wingers do it too with demon rants and stuff. But my favorite is
this authentic boomerism? Or
yeah, he's like unironic in that. I know he uses it seriously. And then they always T-rump, like they capitalize the R because he's a rump.
Yeah.
What was the Elon one I saw?
Oh, in Canada we had free dumbers. Instead of DUMB, freedom.
Someone made a clever Elon one the other day, but I already forgot it. It was some play on felon or something like that. I can't remember. Anyway,
fell on
something like that. Yeah. GR also says there was a sketch in a TV show. I forgot which. You can't tax the rich because they will get out of it with accountants and loopholes. Can't tax the poor because they don't have the money. Who do you tax? Well, yeah, I guess the middle income people. I don't know, but you can't tax your way to prosperity fundamentally, and that's where Chuck Schumer is mistaken.
You can if you're a politician.
Well, he did, but personally you can, but society-wide it's difficult.
Yeah, no. It's
Dangerous Space says, if any court can tell the executive what they can or can't do, is there even an executive, especially when telling Trump how to handle his actual job, military decisions, national security, etc. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is, of course, the executive likewise has things that are outside of his domain constitutionally. We see that all the time. And Trump, I think, has exceeded that authority in some contexts, like the eviction moratorium, like the stupid bump stock ban. There have been all sorts of things. But when we're talking core stuff like management of illegal immigrants and enforcement of the law in the context of illegal immigrants, or being commander-in-chief of the military, I mean, these are not things like I invented new law and I'm applying it as though Congress passed it or something like that, which was done in the eviction moratorium context and the bump stock context and some others. This is, I am constitutionally the commander-in-chief and I'm doing commander-in-chief stuff. And I'm also in charge of enforcing existing law on the border, and I'm just doing that. Now, you could disagree with Trump's interpretation of it, but yeah, I mean, to the extent that these are squarely constitutional areas of the executive, I think the courts have to be extra careful in intervening, and yet they're extra eager. So,
well, what's the deterrent?
Yeah, there isn't one. That's the thing. There isn't one. Impeachment. And when's the last time a judge got impeached?
What's the impeachment process? It has to go through Congress?
It's just like the presidential impeachment process. So the House,
it's never going to happen.
The House would bring
throw
charges.
Everything at the wall, see what sticks.
But to actually remove them, you need a supermajority vote in the Senate. 0% chance. These judges could shoot people in the face on the street, like Trump said on Fifth Avenue. Yeah. And it would not matter.
Yeah.
Dude, if a federal judge pulled a Luigi and shot a guy in the back.
So what's the consequence if Trump is to disregard a judgment from one of these judges?
Yeah,
Who enforces that?
That's interesting because the mechanism on him is also impeachment.
Bucket, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So Congress.
So what we're looking at is a constitutional crisis, possibly civil war.
Congress has the reins on both of them, and if Congress chooses not to exercise its authority, then that's that. That's really, right. I mean,
so whoever has Congress should run the ship, right? And isn't that in the Republican hands currently? So aren't they
yes, but Congress's power is itself checked because they have to have a supermajority to actually remove these people. So really, to your point, yeah, it ends up being judges saying, "Hey, don't do that," and Trump saying, "Fuck off." No. And it's not as though judges can go arrest him and remove him from office or something like that.
Yeah, tell them to fuck off.
Yeah,
it seems like we solved it, Matt. This is, hey, Trump, do whatever the fuck you want. And,
I definitely wouldn't say that, obviously. I mean, I think, but in areas of executive law enforcement where judges really have no constitutional domain, I think that you have to be.
That's what I was referring to.
Be selective with your middle fingers, but the middle finger is an available option that could be deployed. Yeah. GR says, "Hey guys, I'm using the old law called freedom of the press and freedom of speech to speak to you. They'll do away with it soon." Well, not yet. Although I'm surprised that Canada hasn't banned it from happening yet. They haven't cut your signal yet.
Oh, this show, because we don't have freedom of speech. we have a freedom. We have what's referred to as the Charter of Rights and Freedoms.
Yeah,
which clearly instantiates that we have rights so long as the government chooses to grant them to us.
Yes. So you don't. Yeah. Lastly, over on Odyssey, Blanket says, Matt, do you have some favorite OHW songs? OHW is what? I know we were talking semisonic and stuff, but what's OHW?
I got nothing.
I don't know what kind of songs that is. Or if that is. Those are. I can't even talk. You've confused me so much.
Write in again.
Anyway, thank you, Blankets. I just don't know. I don't know what you're referring to. Blankets also says, Matt, Tim... Tim said he could beat most conservatives, Tim Walz. Guessing the ones Tim couldn't beat, he'd just get his school shooter friends to use against them. Yeah, well, he does have a posse.
I've become friends with school shooters.
So, if he can't take them out, his friends will. Okay, Matt, one-hit wonder songs. OHW, one-hit wonder. I actually do love that song. There's a lot of songs of like the 80s and 90s era that I really
how old were you? How old were you in 1998?
I was 10 or 11.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, goddamn. Yeah. I'm much older than you.
I'm not even going to ask. You can volunteer if you want. I don't know what you.
I was 18.
Oh, you're not. That's not that old. That's a little bit older than me.
It's the oldest I've ever been.
All right.
But now, not then.
Yeah.
I was only 18 then.
You're the oldest you've ever been right now? Wow, that's
it's shocking.
Yeah. All right. My favorite one-hit wonder song is probably "Your Love" by The Outfield. Do you know that song?
Not by name.
Oh man, you'd know it if you
can you sing it for us?
I'm at the risk of sounding like.
Yeah, that's the.
I don't want to sing on stream, but I'm sure I can
think of one-hit wonder.
I'm sure I can play a little bit of it and not get in trouble. Let's see. You know this song?
Is Bryan Adams' song?
No, it's The Outfield.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, one of the best one-hit wonders of all time.
Is it?
I just want to use your love tonight.
Yeah, that's my pick.
Okay, everyone knows that song. I would have no way to verify if, in fact, they are a one-hit wonder.
Oh, that's definitely a one-hit wonder. I don't think that The Outfield ever did anything else. Maybe I'm mistaken. All right, I think
Journey.
Oh, Journey's not one-hit wonder. Journey is.
I'm joking.
Okay, I thought you were going to say, oh, Michael Jackson. He was great.
Yeah. That Metallica.
All right, we're all set. Let me give a quick refresh on YouTube and Tippy. Man, I told you I was going to aim for an hour, and here we are an hour later. So I guess things went decently well then. I don't know. Anyway, any final thoughts before we're out of here?
No.
Well, good job standing up for Canada. They appreciate it.
Well, yeah. Don't get me started. I have lots of thoughts, but it's late, and I don't want to get you going.
All right.
Well, we would don't give up on us. There. Okay, I'll give you like a 1 minute, because you see a lot of the left in Canada. Right now, they're all the guys who were like, there is no such thing as Canadian people, and you have no heritage, and we're the first post-national state, are all now Team Canada and very jingoistic and nationalistic, which is hilarious. And they now believe that they could win a war against the U.S. and Russia combined, because they're very logical people. Operate from first principles.
Wait, there are Canadians who believe that they're going to take on both of our countries because we're allies with Putin.
Don't you know exactly. Okay. And don't you know we burnt down the White House in 1812? So that means we're undefeatable. And, even though and this, because a lot of people get confused, because I'm pro Canadians as a people, and I'm nationalistic for Canadians as a people, as a nation of people. But the country of Canada, like this geographic region that's never been independent or sovereign, and always we're a British Commonwealth. We depend on the king.
Yeah.
Even our prime minister's not in charge. We're actually ruled by a governor general through letters patent to the king, and we pay taxes to it's just
what even is Canada
legal
Day?
Fiction. If you want to fuck your mind, go on Wikipedia and look up Canadian constitutional monarchy and just read the history and try to figure out what the fuck this country is. It's a legal fiction that's never existed, means nothing. Canadian people are a real thing, and I'm loyal to them. We're the progeny of the settlers that were here. We're brothers. Like, we came at the same time as the U.S. The only difference is 1776. You guys said we don't like taxes, and we said them so much we might get free healthcare someday, and that we're kind of the wimpy bastard, offshoot brother of you guys, but we are related, and I think we're closer than anyone, and we're on the same continent of America. We're all Americans. You're just the United States, and we have yet to join, and that's it.
All right. Well, there you have it. That's the most impassioned defense of Canada I've ever heard, certainly. Yeah. So
Canadians, not Canada.
Oh, yeah, Canada. Sorry. Canadians, the people.
Yeah.
Anyway. Well, that's going to do it for us tonight. Thanks to live chatters, super chatters, making the live show a success. Appreciate you guys. If you're listening on demand later, thank you kindly as well for supporting the show. Hey, thanks to Mark Aaron for sitting in tonight. Find his link to his X account at the top of the description. Thanks again to our callers and our emails. Thanks to producer Tim for his assistance. MattChristiansenMedia.com is where you find everything show related. I'll be back on Sunday night. Hope to see you then.